So I grew up in the Bay Area and moved to Salinas in 2000. Started out as in the computer field, which was going really well. Worked for IBM and then into some sales companies. And when computers went from $3,000 a computer to $300 a computer, there wasn't much of a business left there for that. So I started out in 2002 part-time. I was still selling computers from home, and I got a real estate license. At the urging of my brother-in-law, who's been an agent for 20 years on the peninsula. So finally took that leap, and immediately that was the life for me. I had found my spot. So that's how it started.
And so since that happened, that's about 17 years in real estate.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that though. So when I started at Coldwell Banker in Salinas, and I learned a lot from Kathy Yamamoto, and I latched on to a mentor who really helped me, Susan Rubin, and for 6 years I learned the ropes. And then after that, I was at Town & Country for 9 years, where, you know, if they had a tagline, it would have been Good Guys Real Estate. And I just learned a lot about that, where you are what people think of you, and learned a lot from Dale Hanley and Mike and my former team. So now I'm in the place I'm supposed to be, Keller Williams.
Okay. So a lot of things that occurred in the 17 years from real estate back to, I think, right about then they were just getting rid of the books, where you have to replace pages for the MLS. What do you put in that kind of stuff in contrast to it? What do you think has changed the most about this industry since you started?
Well, exactly what you just said. I mean, it's the technology. Everything is at our fingertips now. When I got to, when I first started, we were just getting out of the part where you wanted to go see the new listings, you went to everybody's office, and you looked in their binder to see which listings were coming up that were new. That was actually the activity. Now, everything's at our fingertips, and you got to be on it. Usually your clients will know before you if you're not on what they're looking for.
And so you think the priorities have changed as to our value?
Absolutely.
From being information keepers to...
Yeah. You know, we need to be able to provide a full package, a total package now. Not that, you know, we're bringing a listing that no one else knows about. Everybody knows about it now. So what else are we going to bring?
So with that in mind, what's changed the least?
What's changed the least is the people who have character and perseverance are the ones who are going to do the business. It doesn't matter, you know, the trusted people are the ones that in the first couple minutes of meeting a client, that client knows that they want to be with you for this transaction of 30 or 45 days. So that hasn't changed. It's the ones that make the best impressions and follow through that are going to be successful.
So you think the client's pretty much static? They're the same, they're still buying and selling, but it's the industry that's changed and the realtor's changing with it.
Yeah, but you got to add value, because there's a lot of new ways to sell homes that maybe that wasn't available before, and you know, we need to stay on top of it and be an added resource. What other things are we bringing to the table?
What's changed the least? What stays the same?
I thought I heard that question, but what it is the people who have a plan and that are on it and are likable, somebody that they want to be involved with for 45 days, are the ones that are going to get the business.
Okay.
Wait a minute, back up a minute. You said what changed the least?
That's it.
Yep.
People that are honest, out front, and knowledgeable, and on top of their game are the ones that are going to be successful.
Good agents are still good agents.
Right.
Bad agents are unfortunately everywhere. So if you go back to your first year of business, first started, what do you wish you had known then that you know now?
Let's see. Got to pay taxes at the end of the year. Have a plan with your business. Treat this as a business. People get excited about their first few deals, and you know, most people are coming out of the corporate world and don't realize that, you know, you have to manage your business and expenses, and otherwise you can kind of get caught up in that. So it didn't take me long to realize that end of the year, pay your taxes.
Yeah, I think we've all been in that. Did
Yeah.
you do your quarterlies? Oops.
Right.
100?
I have a plan with that business finances.
So what do you think then, in the 2020 real estate environment, what are the key things, what does it take to
2020?
survive? Yeah, I'm not talking about vision. Well, what does it take to survive, do you think? To keep going in this new world?
Okay, so when you're starting out, or if you've been in business for a while and you want to get serious, you need to have somebody that is like-minded like you, that I believe you kind of pick on as a mentor. It's really hard. You want to be able to focus on all the things that you do best. There's so many people that do things differently. There's lots of ways to peel the onion. I could never be the caller that Patrick is. There's people that do things differently. It's really important to do the things that you do well over and over and over again. And what I do is the things I'm not so good at that would take me 4 times as long to do, I farm that out. So I get to focus on the things that bring me results.
We're gonna get to that a little bit later. Yes, we are.
Am I jumping ahead?
No,
Oh,
absolutely. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's all blended. So, you got a lot on your plate. You're doing a lot of volume. You're talking to a lot of people. When you get up in the morning, do you have any daily routines?
I do. So I try to, because in real estate, the thing that's exciting and things that it's unpredictable is we don't know what's gonna happen that day and where we're gonna get pulled to. So things that I wanna do, like maybe working out or doing household things, I do it early in the morning so that when I'm done with that, I'm ready to take on whatever happens. I think it's really important. It's really hard to say, I'll meet you for lunch at 12 in this business, because you don't know what's gonna come up, and you just wanna focus on the things that are money-making activities. So if I do those, I do breakfast.
Do you have any rituals? Like, I do this at this time every morning and
Well, it seems like lately it's fallen off a little bit, but I do all my, working out and things like that at 6 in the morning. Wake up, 6 in the morning, have coffee, do these things, be ready to go by 8. And now with the team, it really helps me because I know I gotta be there for them, so.
yeah. I've always found that having, if I'm kind of feeling a little awkward, getting back to those rituals I used to do help, because it gives you some normalcy, at least in the morning. So, to get, you're looking for new clients, we always are. My favorite sign in doctors and dentist offices is we're taking new patients, right, of course. But how do you procure new clients? What are some of the top methods you use to procure someone that's gonna do business with you?
Well, I got a saying, and Elva and Alicia would probably know this too, that new clients don't show up in my email. So I get out.
Write that down.
I mean, honestly, like, you send me 10 emails, I'm gonna read them at the end of the day. If it's urgent, you better call me. Because, where I farm, I wanna be out there, in the community and doing open houses and doing everything I can to brand myself there. And the other things can wait. I probably should have someone doing those things for me, but at this time I don't.
So getting back to one of your items, open houses. You ask anybody, well, what do you think about open houses? Oh, it's the best source of business. Oh, they're horrible. It's just a bunch of neighbors kicking tires. How do you work an open house?
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing about an open house, it's not something to go for 2 hours and, check your email while you're doing it. You should be prepared. You should know the comps in the area. And like I said, somebody's coming in to an open house. Yes, half of them aren't serious. They're kicking tires, right? But half of them are. So you need to be ready, be proficient, and have those 5 out of 10 that want to buy a house, when they leave there, want to work with you. I mean, Kimberly Flores is great at that. So she's got that on lock. So she just repeats that over and over again, and she's got a great start to her career. These are things that we want to do, things that we're good at. So being prepared and having a plan.
So your first 2 years in the business, what was your technique? What did you do to get new clients then? When you first started out?
Just that.
Same thing? And you've
I
been
mean,
doing it?
I'll tell you, I got very fortunate. My very first sale was referred to me by a lender in Las Palmas. And I very quickly learned that a listing can lead to, if you have a plan, one more listing and 2 buyers is really what the plan should be. Every time you take a listing, I'm gonna get 2 buyers from this listing and another seller. And it happened to be in Las Palmas, and it happened to kind of go that way in the beginning. And I took that and farmed it out to where it is now. It took like 4 years of consistent marketing in that area. So you never know where the opportunity is gonna come. Don't shy away from it, and that's what I did.
So, switch it a little bit, we'll put it on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you, with 1 being it doesn't even matter, 10 meaning it's super important, how important is your database?
Well, being here a year now, one of the great things that Keller Williams offers is the technology side. And I'm still coming up to speed on that. My database right now is probably a 3. I want it to be a 10, and this is the year that I make that difference. That's not one of the activities that I don't do that I say I don't really need to do that. That's where I improve, is learning that. So I'll probably be in a database class with some of the newer agents, because that's what I want to do. I have all my contacts, but it's unorganized. So.
Now you want it to be a 10 because it's super important to you.
Right.
When it is, or when it gets up to the 8s or the 9s even, how are you going to work? I mean, what are you going to do with it?
I hope to learn. This is new to me, so I know that's what's going to take me to the next level for me.
Okay. Ask you this: do you use social media for your business?
I do. Another thing I'm not great at, I farm it out. It's not something that I would spend 4 hours on, something that would take 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. But this year, I'm doing more Facebook things, and
What kind of stuff do you post on Facebook?
I keep it strictly business for me. New listings, sales, thank yous, gratefulness, all out in the community, into my sphere, so that maybe it leads to more appointments. So, I feel like if I can get an appointment, I got a very good chance of getting it. So my goal is to get more appointments and more FaceTime. I can get that through Facebook and things like that, from people seeing what's happening.
One thing I've noticed because you're a Facebook friend with me, is that you do post, there's personal stuff in there. I think people like that because they see you as a human, as opposed to, a lot of people, realtors especially, they're gonna post their open houses, they're gonna put in the new listings, and nobody likes it. And they say, well, nobody likes my listings. Maybe they do, but they don't care on Facebook. And, but yeah, I mean, I pirated some of the photos that I showed on your Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, very few, but the ones that I do are important.
Yeah.
And
it just humanizes you.
Right.
And on the other hand, if you're gonna post on Facebook, don't get too human. I mean, when I'm dancing on the bar stools and things like that.
Yeah.
So marketing.
Okay.
What kind of marketing do you do?
Most of my business is done through a farm. I've been farming River Road in Las Palmas. There's 2,000 homes there. Farming it very consistently for 5 or 6 years. I started out walking the neighborhood. I did that for as long as I possibly could. It was the most effective because I met people cutting their lawn. And the first couple months, it was like, hey, who are you? Third time, it was like, hey, Scott, come on in. Let's talk. Become friends in the neighborhood. So I feel like branding is what we need to do for ourselves, and learning to do that was the most important. And now doing it this long, I've succeeded. When you do your farming, don't just say, hey, I can sell your home. You got to be more than that today. You want to be a resource for the community you're trying to work in. So you better have a list of painters, gutter cleaners, lawn trimmers, trusted people in your sphere that will do a good job. And once you know that you've made it within a specific area, is when you get more calls for the gutter clean out than you do for the listings. Because then they're relying on you as anything with house.
Is that where you live?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 17 years in Las Palmas, it's been a blessing. Kids all went through the schools, but I think the farming and the branding is what's made a difference for me. I think it can for anybody who just really wants to focus on it.
So explain branding, what do you mean by that? What are some of the examples you could provide?
Well, okay, so there's a monthly letter that goes out with just stats of what's happened and some of the information about resources I have. I have in the restaurant, I have the same flyer, and in the liquor store, or the market, I have the same flyer. So being there consistently through the years, like I don't think I can move even if I wanted to,
Right.
is what's made a huge difference for me. And doing the extra things, not necessarily relating to buying and selling, has made it more of a personal touch for me in that area.
I like to refer to the 80-20 rule, which basically states that 80% or 20% of your good results come from 80% of the effort. So it's basically you're spending, just actually it's the other way around, 20% of your efforts get 80% of your results. We call the 20% the vital few. What are some of the 20% things that you do that are super important that you focus on?
I think we just said it, the farming, the being out in the community, the being available for discussions.
How about just daily, just like activity, just a singular activity? What are a few examples that you might do?
Following up in the neighborhood and other areas too, calling past clients. I mean, I do all those things like everybody does at Successful. The one thing that I don't do in that rule is the trivial stuff. So the 80% of the things that aren't really generating, that's what you gotta minimize and focus on the things that are working.
So do you ever catch yourself doing some of the trivial things?
Sure, I almost schedule it, like I know, and my team does, on Wednesday mornings I'm golfing, that's what I do. And they know that, we've scheduled around that. And it can be frustrating, but at least we know when that is. I mean, when you work the weekends, you wanna have a plan, so.
Well, some would say that the golfing is actually a vital few activity because it recharges you. It's the reason there's only 4 quarters in football, because if you play 5 quarters, they'd be too tired to play in the next game.
And plus, there's marketing activities at Corral Sierra where I could get some business from there.
So, you just closed the property. What do you think? What do you want the client to say about you to a third party when you're not around after that closing? What do you think they should say?
I really want them to know that I had a total project-based approach, that I listened to their goals, and that I executed them. And I became, more of a friend in the process as well. Someone that they can rely on going forward.
Okay. So take that same client, they're feeling really good about you afterwards. What's your plan with them afterwards? Do you kind of say, see you later, and let me know if you need to buy another house? I mean, what do you do?
I do stay in touch with the marketing, that's one thing. I could get a lot better, and I learned from people here, like at Keller Williams, Andy's got the note card writing, and the thing that I really want to follow in on that, and try and learn. That's one of the great things about this place, is everybody does it different, and you can come up with ideas from everybody to help you be successful. I do follow up. I usually have events, around in the neighborhood at the River Road Grill, things like that. But it's definitely when I want them to say that I stayed in touch and that I've become a friend or a colleague. Yeah.
Do you have plans to do like a systematic contact approach with your people, or is that something
coming up?
Coming up.
It's coming up. That's where I gotta improve. That's the learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So take that same client. Now it's 2025, 5 years later. What do you think they should be saying about you then? Somebody mentions your name. What should be the conversation?
He gets it done.
5 years later?
5 and 10. That would be the one that they would call and we're moving again. I take it very serious. So I want to look at the whole project on what they want. So there's some emotions that go into selling real estate, right? That you've met every one of those needs when it's done, and that they still remember all that because I added value.
There's a statistic with NAR, I think, that 85% of people who close said they'll use the same realtor again, but I think it's 18% actually do.
Yeah.
Because there's on average about a 7 or 8 year gap between purchases, and the reason is because they forgot you.
Yeah.
Listing appointment.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for it?
Well, that's a good one. So, and very important because usually, you're in a very competitive situation. So you have to know all your facts. When you go to an appointment, you're gonna be much better at it if you know what you're talking about. So somebody calls you to come on a listing appointment, I never go the same day. I mean, you gotta take time to find the comparables, find out what everybody sold for, call your friends that are in real estate to find out what you can find out that you don't know, and be as prepared as you can be, because once you're prepared, you're gonna make a good impression, and you're gonna get the listing signed.
Do you have any, anything that maybe you don't do it so much now, but were you ever, when you were a little bit newer, do any kind of practicing or rehearsals or anything
Oh,
like
for
that?
sure, yeah. I still do that. I do that with the team too. We have, you know, when I was first starting, I would rely on some of my mentors that I had that they would, you know, they wanted to see me succeed. And I think everybody that's in the business really wants to have other people succeed, people that you want to hang out with. I think there's so many that want you, you know, to do well. Find those people and lock onto it, because then you can practice and own your skills.
So what kind of materials do you bring to your listing appointment?
I don't bring the big fluffy presentation. Luckily now that I have a track record that I can rely on to show, you know, how I've done in a neighborhood or in that particular area. Obviously comparables, I've done my homework, I know everything about the neighborhood, and I also take it on as a project, so if they need some things fixed, I know that I have the people to do that up front, so that they can take the stress out of it.
Do you
That works for me.
there's a 1-step and a 2-step. What is your?
Is that dancing or?
It could be. 4-step. Like, do you go out with the intent to list them that day and bring everything, or do you go back and say, I'll come back with the price?
No. I do everything up front. You never know if you're gonna get a second appointment. And if you can go there and get it signed that day and build that confidence, then you have to come back, you got a chance of losing.
That's right.
So you wanna go and get it all done the first day. There's no doubt about that. There's not even a question in that. So then honing your skills in a way to get that done with a team approach and not making them feel too put off is what you gotta work on.
Do you bring any other written materials, like any type of any of your comparables and all that? Is there anything else that you bring with you, or
No.
just that?
Nope.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty confident when I go out that, you know, that I know what I'm talking about, and I think it comes off and I'm able to get things that way.
And obviously the numbers show that you get the listings. So why do you think you're picked over the competition? What do you
Well-
big points of difference? Big points of difference.
Yeah, I think the big points of difference is that I'm prepared for that specific. I don't bring a lot of fluff and I have a plan. I think of things as, how can I help their family? I rarely get commission questions. There's always once in a while, you know, you get those, but overcoming those things and showing that you're adding value is what you bring.
So I want to do a 4% commission. I'm pretty stuck on that. What's your approach? Do you approach it with one-liners? Do you approach it with questions? I mean, how do you handle commission objection? I know there's a million different versions of a commission objection, but what's your strategy going in on your commission?
Okay, so even before Keller Williams, there's never been a listing that I offered less than 2.5. So that being said, and that's how you build partnerships in our community. And there have been times when I've maybe taken 2% on the listing side. So if when you're working with somebody, you tell them how important it is that split is, because we have people in Salinas that take 4 and give 2. So, you know, that split to the community it's not what we can do, it's who we can bring in. And so offering that 2.5 is very important. My standard, you know, I do 5% listings, but I'll tell them if I sell it, I'll do it for 4. So that's my adjusted commission approach to that. It usually works out pretty well. There are times, I'm not gonna walk away from it at 2% on the listing side, but 90% of the time I don't have to do that.
What about price objections? The house is clearly worth $750. They want $8.25.
I don't do it.
You walk away from it?
I get out the power to walk away from it. I mean, the first question that I will ask them, because I'll know my numbers, is if it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, will you be prepared to go to this number? We'll give everything we can to make your price work. But if it's gonna be something, then you get the answer from the seller. The seller says, well, if I don't get 850, then I'm not gonna sell it at all. Well, then it's more of a money grab, a money sucker for you.
Right.
Yeah, so there's
And
things,
time.
yeah, you gotta be, committed to what you know and not be afraid to walk away from the transaction. Those are things that can happen. Getting into a price transaction and having to drag out 6 months where you're working every weekend on it, that can make the difference between a great year and a very average year. Because that can just take all your time.
You follow scripts?
Not too many. I think I probably have the same scripts in my head that I say over time for all these objections. But
What about with your team? Do you work with?
we have a
team on
few, we
scripts?
use a few Mike Ferry scripts we've kind of gone over. Not too much. I take a lot of time to go with them on the first to kind of help them generate how they're gonna come up with objections on their own in our neighborhood. Still, we doing some expired, so we have some scripts we're using with that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You have a team, successful team. Why did you decide to go from Scott Craig, the realtor, to the Scott Craig team?
Well, that's a good question. I was happy where I was at before, but I felt like I wasn't growing. And I was looking at myself now, where I'm gonna be in 15 years or so. And what I really wanted to do, and I still wanna do, is move into more of a mentor role. So I get more out of helping the members of my team and growing their business, not necessarily under the Scott Craig team, but under the brand of my individual agents. So I do it a little differently than just about anything else. And when you have a team and people that are relying on you and you're accountable to them, it can only make you more focused. So I really, really appreciate that part of it. That's why I'm here at Keller Williams, because I wanted to be able to grow my business a little bit that way and be able to be mentoring.
So if you were to offer advice to an agent who's maybe going to form a team, maybe not today, but down the road, and what would you tell them they should be their first hire? Should it be a buyer's agent? Should it be an admin person? What would you advise? Or the first task to get off your plate? Put it that way, might be a different way of putting
I think I look at it a little differently than the model. So the person that is on my team has to be somebody that is like-minded in my approach and is gonna have the same energy. Like I say, if we could have a name, we try to make it Happy Real Estate, because that's what we wanna be. If you're not having fun, it's so much harder to be in business. So it's great to have an admin person. That would be good, especially for someone like me where I don't want to have some of the day-to-day things that can keep me into that 80 and away from my 20.
Right.
But as hiring people and agents, I want agents that are gonna be enthusiastic and just wanna learn and grow their business within the team.
It sounds like your ultimate goal is at level 7 of the team hierarchy, which is amazing. But right now, currently,
Yeah.
what's your main role on the team? You've got buyer, people doing their own business and all that. What is your, is it on your own clients or them? What's your main role?
My main role is helping them cultivate their skills with their clients that they're getting and getting them to the finish line and having them learn. What do you call me, Chester?
Dad.
So there you go.
It's my dad.
No, there's no way that I can be Chester's dad, but that, that's what I want to bring, is that kind of advice and those kind of things that haven't done it for a while. So, they can get their skills up and be happy and profitable.
So you're going up and listing appointments with different competition. Do you make yourself aware of the competition, or do you just don't even think about
If
it?
they want to share it, I think it's important. I think I know everybody's, at least, it's funny, Salinas is very different than like Carmel, okay? We have a very tight-knit group there, and you're kind of in the club or out of the club, and you want to be in the club because it seems like there's 10 or 12 agents that do a lot of business there. And it's really important for agents to, exactly, look at the numbers, agents to get involved with those people, whoever 12 that you work out with, and try to kind of get up in to that level, to where people trust you. So that's the goal with these guys. So, you know, with the, I'm sorry, I think I messed up your question.
No.
So that's exactly what we want to do. Get to know people that are players and become a player by how you act and how you're trusted. I really feel it's almost like a little microclimate. I love working in Salinas, by the way. It's a great place. So.
Genuine, it's a
Genuine place, and there's really good people there. There's some bad raps about it, but I don't see that.
There's bad raps about Carmel.
Yeah.
You know, it's just real estate in general. So, let's say you're one of those 12, two of those 12 agents you're competing with, and you know that.
Right.
And your client, your potential client knows you have a team, they're individuals.
Right.
They're top producing individuals, you're a team. How would you communicate to them the advantages of a team over an individual agent?
First thing I'm gonna do is listen to the client, what they say when I'm in that meeting. You can pick up tips by not walking in and, you know, the first thing I do is I kind of take a tour of the property with them because they're gonna talk about what their goals are within that time frame. And if they have concerns about something like that, you're gonna get it up front. Because you have to be a little bit of a chameleon. You can say, you know, if you're going up against a team and you're a single agent, you can say, you're gonna get me all the time. You got my 100% focus, which is something I say, you know, in my neighborhood that I do business in mostly, all the time. And in that area, I say the team is here to help me, you know, with some open houses and things to make sure that you have the proper coverage for what you want. But you're getting me. That's how I try to go after someone as a single agent. If I'm going against, I mentioned people, Sergio Saya, he's a great agent in Salinas, right? Very tough agent. Right, so, you know, I would kind of say that.
Okay. Because that's always there's a
yeah, sure.
Yeah, because there's a misconception about teams and having had a team. It's the things that'll be said is one hand doesn't know which one's washing the other. You're never going to get the rainmaker, etc. And that's perfect. And then I know an individual agent is really going to wonder, how am I going to go up against Scott Craig and his team?
So I'll tell you, I mean, how we do it in Salinas, and I know we do it a little different, right? And I think it's good. Is I'm there to support the newer agents with their fire and enthusiasm, and then but they get me to help them get them through the transaction, and we bring that out to the client. So you're getting this new person, Chester, but you're also getting Scott.
Yeah.
When I do my own things, you know, it's mostly me. So you know, my role is to get their skills up, and if I can give them opportunities doing some of my open houses or things like that, then that's a great fit for them too.
So, technology, it's rolling along, right? It may not be long before we have things like a contract, for example, that filled out the way TurboTax, where you go online and you don't need an agent to fill out a contract. Right? You're going to be asked the questions, and artificial intelligence is going to direct you.
That's out already.
It is. It's being tested in Maryland by Redfin, and then they got pulled back because their attorney trying to figure out how to make it work again. Self-guided home tours, where there's lockbox on the property. You don't need an agent. You just register online to see these 3 properties. You go, you put in your code. They know who you are. There's cameras in the house, and you see the home. There's an app out now where it's agents to agents, where if you're out of town, you just say, I need a showing, or I need a door open, or whatever, and somebody grabs it like Uber, and they go show the property, or they, that sort of thing. iBuyers, which is where they purchase the home for cash, a little bit below market value, plus 8 to 10% service fee, and then they go out and resell it, but the property closes in 10 days. Those are all things that we hear about, right? And those are all things that are coming, and some of that we're actually doing in our own technology. We actually have iBuyers in 4 markets right now. Our company, which will be, but putting all that in mind, especially Salinas, which is more prone to that because you have more new construction, you have more homes with consistent pricing and all that. Does that worry you at all?
Absolutely not. This isn't Uber. This is the single biggest transaction somebody's probably going to make. And you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing and trusted and knows everything that happened in the neighborhood and whatever neighborhood you're working in. That I personally don't think, you know, agent whatever you said is gonna.
Yeah, I don't think there's a title to it yet, but yeah, we know that.
Yeah. So, local knowledge, expertise, having a plan and knowing what you're talking about is not gonna come from, that technology. I mean, it is a convenience, and guess what? Houses aren't making either, so how's that gonna work when you got a family with 2 young children and, and a dog, and the computer's trying to schedule an appointment, everybody's got a different situation, and you better be flexible.
Well, not to mention that people purchase on average of 8 years or so, and no one is that familiar with the process unless you're a realtor. And even a lot of realtors aren't. If you're only selling a few deals a year, you're really not that familiar with the process.
Guess what? We're still selling gas and selling gas cars too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that in mind, and knowing a lot of the stuff is coming, what do you see the role of a realtor in the next, say, 3 years? I mean, do you see it being, we talked before earlier about, maybe it was a different conversation, but cell phones, like, oh my God, cell phones. Texting.
Yeah.
We got through all that. People resisted, but it came and it changed our role. But we're no longer the keeper of the information, right? So and so people get afraid that what do they need me for?
Mm-hmm.
What? Before I ask you that, let's try to fast forward 3 years. We don't have a crystal ball, obviously, but based on what you think, and I ask you, what do I need you for? You're a realtor. What do I need you for?
Well, let me just go back and say, when they had the listings in the office and they went to the online computer, the first computers, everybody freaked out. And when it went from the old matrix system to our new matrix system, everybody freaked out.
Yeah.
And it's the people who can react the quickest and move the fastest, whether it's the market or the things that are driving the market, like technology, are the ones who are gonna stay on top of it. When houses went from the top of the market to nobody selling and short sales, you better be the first to learn how to do short sales. Because otherwise you spend 2 years making no money. So moving fast, staying on your feet, and having your attention on the pulse is what's important. And I don't think that's going to change no matter what the technology is. And having things of convenience like the lock boxes we used to have. Some of the ones we used to have we used to have the ones where you put your box in there and it would pop out for a while, the old super keys.
A little.
Yeah, so none of that has changed. It's all usually made for the better. So taking technology and running with it is very important, but never lose sight of the fact of how important you are in making the technology or making a transaction work effectively.
Yeah. Exactly. And brilliant advice when you mentioned short sales, that's one example of taking the lessons of the past. Because everyone that's too slow falls behind. Whether it's real estate, whether it's even bookstores.
Yes.
Everybody doing it the old way, waited because nothing changed at all. Even though we're hearing about it, then all of a sudden it does.
It changes
All of a sudden
overnight.
it does. Overnight.
I remember they locked the doors to like IndyMac one day, and they closed like a branch, and it was and then all of a sudden things just went crazy. So
Overnight.
gotta be ready. Yeah.
That's why the good advice, pay attention.
Yeah.
So, let's say agents that are a little bit frustrated, they can't get their business rolling as quickly as they'd like in today's environment. What kind of advice would you give them? They're doing everything they're being told, they're making their calls, but business, I'm frustrated. I'm not sure I want to stay in the business. How would you counsel that person?
I would say, like I've been saying through this interview, is do the things that you're good at and get help for the others, and find a mentor. Find somebody who is going to take an interest in you, and just to help you. People want to help people, and find out what they're doing, and try to do those things. If they're right for you. So, getting out and from behind there's time to make cold calls, and it should be very structured, and usually in the morning. But then getting out and doing open houses and tours. Do you know how important it is to go to another agent's open house, even if you don't have a client for it, just to meet that agent and form a relationship with that agent? Because that's the agent that maybe next month has the house you want. They're gonna say, hey, I remember meeting you. You had a great attitude. Yeah, let's do a deal together. That's what this business is about. So, usually those people are stuck in their own systems and not doing the actual income producing projects that make it work. Gotta unlock that key and get them out.
Agreed, and that also holds true if you're going into wherever your office might be. You're going in there and just talking to other people,
Yeah.
expressing it. It's helpful to hear bouncing ideas off.
Agents, wherever we work and whatever company we work with, it's great to do business with Ben, Keller Williams, and all the agents here, but it's not realistic. You have to be able to be a friend to everybody that's out there and make an impression that they're people you want to work with, because clients will come and go, they move out of state. Most of the good agents are still here. So those are the ones you got to work with.
So, have you ever been in a slump? Sales slump?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, has anyone not ever been in a sales slump?
Yeah.
Been around more than 2 years. How do you pull out of a slump? What do you do? How do you get your mindset back?
Okay, exercise. Okay, because you need a really strong mind, and that comes from that. And again, focus on the things that make you successful, but also move quickly. If things aren't selling and you're seeing people going into default, like I said, get creative with short sales and have a program in place that's going to be successful. So you've just got to eliminate the things that are distractions when you're in a slump, and and really get more structured with your time, and just focus on income producing activities as much as possible.
So daily routine, focus on things that are going to
Sometimes when things are going good and you forget about the things that made you have a good month, and you kind of slip off, leads you to a slump. If you're not feeding that pipeline, you're just closing deals and you're not bringing new ones in, be ready for 90 days with no money.
That's called a backwards slump. It's similar to a backwards dinner. We eat dessert first, right? A backwards slump is you're really busy, and the end of it, you're going to fall into nothing, because while you're handling what you call money-making activities, you're not, as Scott said, you're not feeding the platform. So, in the matter of real estate and things that you've done in your career, what are your biggest wins?
I got a call from somebody from my farm that I didn't know, and he had a house in Belmont Circle, and he had met a couple agents, and I hadn't sold another house in that area before, but it's like 12 houses, an exclusive gated community, and they were relocating their produce business, and within the first meeting, I was able to get that house listed. It's not big Carmel standards, but for Salinas, it's 2.5, and I was able to sell it within my contacts in the produce community, because really that's where most of the money's being made. So that's where someone could afford that. I was able to sell that at Christmas time in 22 days. So that was something that happened by an activity that I was doing. I was prepared and made a good impression, and was able to sell it myself. That's my biggest transaction, and what I'm most proud about it is not the money, but it came from my activities of doing my farm and being, just getting. I go out to some houses in my farm and they'll have 9 months of what I've sent on the refrigerator. So those things have worked for me, and that was probably the one that made me the most proud, because it was hard work.
Did that turn you around a little bit as far as saying, like, this stuff works?
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing it in the beginning, it takes 6 months to do it all the time, and until they're used to getting them. And you get people that complain about them sometimes. I call you, hey, don't send this stuff to my house. And that can really get you down, right? You can say, I guess I'm not gonna do this anymore. So yeah, that was it.
Scott?
Yes.
What is it that you said?
So when they said don't do it anymore?
What is it that you said? You said postcards?
Oh no,
letters?
I send a one-page market analysis with a couple little things, but I'm not doing recipes, I'm not telling jokes, I just kind of give him like a very general, this is what sold, this is what I sold.
So letter size?
Yeah, I'm actually picking up, next month's coming up right now. I'll be happy to bring it into the meeting. The people that's working on my team are doing the same flyer in their neighborhood,
So
and getting good results.
You have a service that publishes this letter for you?
It's a great idea. So in our business, we don't want to just spend a bunch of money, so we leverage people to get things done. I have a lender who helps me with the setup of the letter. I just sent them the comps. I have another friend who we checked with, to make sure, association, make sure this is legal. I have another lender that prints them for me, so I don't pay for that. And I just pay for the postage and I pay for the mail stuffing. I used to walk it out, and that was actually the best. I know Kimberly still does that. But after a while, you can't get to everybody, and so then you have to go through the postage.
So you described what your biggest win was. So going the other direction, what was your biggest failure?
Yeah.
I hate to use the word failure because it's but
you know,
we all fail.
You know, I call that a kicking puppies day, not literally, but like, that's what you feel like doing. You know?
That's true. We'll edit the film. We won't.
I don't want the SVCA to come after me. So I'll talk about one recently. I had one that was on around Christmas time, and they wanted to remodel the house and have us take it off and have it remodeled. And then they remodeled it and listed it with someone else, and it sold in like 3 weeks, right in my neighborhood. And this is just happened not too long ago. So those, you know, I honestly like that's a fail, because somehow that lag time where I was probably thinking about Christmas or my kids or whatever I was doing, I didn't follow up enough, and they went with someone else. And you know, that was a $960,000 sale, probably 6 or 7 months ago. So that was all on me.
So when that happens, how do you deal with it?
I congratulated the agent, first of all. I was really angry, but I still congratulated her. And you know, I just used that as, you know, to rehome my skills, get refocused for last year actually. That house was actually the very first sign that went up for Keller Williams for me.
Really?
Yeah. That one I lost.
You lost it.
I was probably going through some transition, like, oh, I get my database, I can move stuff over. And you know, that told me, like, you can learn all this new stuff, but you better have your basics down. So
You had it listed?
I had it listed, they took it off, remodeled the kitchen, came back on.
When you took it off, you canceled.
I called to come back and say, hey, let's get it on the market. And they said, oh, we listed it with someone else.
So you canceled it rather than withdrew it from the MLS?
Yeah, I canceled it, yeah.
So I know agents
Days
that
on the market.
I know agents that are still going on about something they lost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
How long do you allow yourself to mourn your losses?
It's a one bad day.
One bad day?
One bad day.
One bad day and you make sure it'll never happen again.
Yeah, it's always gonna happen again. But it's just, you minimize those, you can't, people are people, things change. But, you know, anytime,
Don't
you
take
know,
it personal.
yeah, you can edit this out, but you know, so when there's another sign that goes up, I kind of like want to take it down and throw it and stomp on it, but I don't. you know.
So I think you're pretty competitive.
Huh?
You're pretty competitive.
I'm super competitive. We saw the wrestling
So
picture.
how do you not hold a grudge, Scott? Like if it's somebody you know in your neighborhood that you talk to, you see, and they choose to go with somebody else, how do you wave as you drive by and?
You know, you do it. It's
Like
just,
this.
Yeah, right?
honestly, it's back to the biggest client we have is each other. It's really true. We're going to be doing business together for many, many years. So take your time to get over it and call and congratulate. You know, this client, this agent actually called me. She goes and asked me if she could use my pictures. That's it. And that's something, you know, that's good. It was good. So you know, and she was a friend of mine. So it was, I don't get mad. You don't get mad.
So where is he? Why don't you recruit her by now?
Nah, we don't want that.
Well, there's that old expression that buyers and sellers come and go, but the realtors are on forever.
So what you do in the transaction and how you act is worth 10 good. If it's you do something bad, it's worth 10. You're going to take 10 good ones to recover.
So if you could do more of one singular activity, what would you do more of?
Talking about a new thing?
Yeah, no, the stuff you're doing now that's working for you, or maybe you want to work for you. What would you step it up with? What do you think you need to step up
I think I need to step up a little bit on my follow-up, hence with that opportunity right there. That I could be much better at that and not assume that everybody, you know, is gonna remember me and wanna do, you know, use me again. That goes back to my database and getting a firm grasp on that. And that's my part of my 2020 growth goal, is to make sure, like I said, you'll see me in those classes, because that's what I need to do better, for sure. I think I do a really good job in the transaction, and I think I need to do a little bit better with my long-term follow-up.
You know, it's interesting, people, when you're successful in a particular market area, that a lot of people will say things like, oh, he's got it easy, he lives there, his kids went to school in there, that's why he gets the business. I don't realize there's a lot of cultivation there.
Kids live in Scottsdale now, I don't have that excuse anymore.
Yeah, you can't use that. Yeah. So, what gets you up? What gets you motivated? Why do you do this? We talk about your why, you know. What's your why?
It's gonna sound corny, but it's my team. I wanna get up, I wanna build a team, build a legacy where there's something there to be accountable for. It's easy to get into a routine where you know, start going to the office at 11 or 12, and go home at 5 in this business. You gotta treat it like a business. These people help me to be accountable for them. And that's what gets me up and going. And I'm ultra competitive, and I know all my numbers, and I know where I need to be, and I rarely hit them, and it makes me mad. I want to hit them. And it's like everybody else. I know exactly what I do and what I want to do, and keep asking myself, why am I not, you know, doing that? So that motivates me.
So, how do you balance, all that said, too, how do you balance a real busy real estate business with a successful personal life?
Well, I schedule my personal life, for sure.
You schedule it first, or you schedule your work first?
It's in there first. So I schedule that around those things. This year's a little different with my kids being gone. I'm not dropping off and picking up, and I know exactly how that is for people who are doing that. It's very difficult to balance all that. When I had family all here at the same time, I had family Friday where I didn't work. So everybody, and after a while, everybody knew that I didn't work. So that wasn't a thing. So where that's where you don't answer your phone's off the whole day. I think it's really important to build that into your business, and your clients will respect that. And it's very, very important to stick with that to keep your personal relationships strong with your children or whatever, your spouse or whatever you have to do.
So at this point in your career, do you feel like the Scott Craig real estate machine has peaked, or is it like the best yet to come?
The better. I mean, I definitely don't think it's peaked. I still have goals. You know, I'm doing 25 to 28 transactions, and I really should be doing 40. And I haven't hit that yet. So very goal oriented for that. Not including, and along with that, it's, you know, building my team and being there for them, so they're hitting those kind of numbers too. So definitely not retiring yet.
Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, at least 15 more years.
I'm going to open it up. Does anyone have any questions about?
I just want to say that
farming?
this man is to be admired. He's the kind of agent that I love, and that's one of the things I love about Keller. We will open our books for you. You know, I'm first one, if I can help somebody, I will help them. And Scott's a huge leader that way. The team that he's taken on, and I admire that very much. He's a community member. He's not just another agent that's trying to keep their stuff to themselves. You know, I love that. So I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Tell me.
When you were walking the neighborhood,
Yeah.
getting to know your neighbors and everyone, handing out your monthly flyer, and you mentioned earlier getting to that point where they invite you and go, oh, Scott, yeah, and they start talking. How do you structure that cutoff time of spending, you know, a 30-minute conversation in someone's house when it's just kind of light conversation for them? You know,
Yeah,
do you
no.
put a cutoff date or time, or
Well,
do you create an exit?
I think, yeah, you learn to be able to move on and be nice at the same time. There may not be a client, if it's in your area that you're targeting, they may not be a client that day, but they're obviously thinking of you for the future. And you know, people in the neighborhoods like Las Palmas, Michelle lives there. People talk in there, and like it's like you gotta watch what you do. You know, so you know that neighbor may talk to another neighbor who's gonna sell. So you gotta keep that in mind. You know, and then you get the guy who's, you know, you get to get off my lawn guy, you know, it's probably Patrick's house. So, you know, but you know, you learn, and one of the reasons I really started nailing is because people said, oh, it's on vacation and your flyer stayed there for 2 weeks, and people knew I wasn't home. So things you don't think about, right? So, but I'm telling you, the walk is the best part, getting to know, that's how you brand yourself. And it, you know, you just say, hey, I'm just putting this on your door right now. It's just information about the neighborhood. And the second time, you know the people that are out there all the time. Saturday mornings 9 to 11 is the best time to do this.
You can't put anything in anyone's mailbox, right?
Cannot put, that's a very good point.
Not, I got an email.
No,
Somebody-
that is for the post office. If you don't have a stamp, you cannot use their mailbox in any way.
Thanks.
My bad.
Yeah, thanks, Chester.
But what about door knockers? Are you putting them on a door knocker? Okay, so we do it, put stuff under the mat?
I used to like slide it in
And
the door
slide
a
it
little
over,
bit,
carry
so
the
you
door.
open the
To me,
door,
it seems that,
false.
like, they would be more offensive than throwing it in a mailbox.
No,
I
I
understand, yeah.
The law.
Yeah, so when you go to open your door, and if it's slid in the door, and it falls to the ground,
You gotta pick it up.
if it's under the mat, you may leave it there for a week, the wind might take it.
Yeah.
If it's in the door, and they open it, you gotta pick it up, what's this?
Scott Craig again, he was here, I didn't see him.
Oh wait, what did that sell for? And they don't care about Scott Craig, what did that sell for? I always want to know what that
Give them
is.
information.
Can you say that again?
They don't care about you at first, they care about the info. And they care about is, man, my gutter's leaking. Oh, he said he had a gutter guy. The gutter guy better be top notch. You send him over there, you got a client. They're gonna sell it. If it's in a place like Las Palmas or Creek Bridge or something like that, those houses turn every 4 or 5 years.
They do,
So
it's a wash, yeah, I see
You got
that.
it
trees?
doesn't happen for 6 months.
Right now it's happening.
Heckler in the back?
You got trees in Las Palmas with leaves?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not many leaves right now.
No.
So a question, do you have like a training system or a professional coach that you use or that you take on a regular basis or?
No, not that it's not worth it, because it is. I kind of learned my own spiel over the years. Coaching can help you with your systems and your time blocking and your management. I tend to do it a little differently than the real hardline scripts. It's more conversational with me and about building a rapport is what I think is important.
Awesome. And earlier, sorry, but
No, please.
a second follow-up question. Earlier you mentioned that sometimes you do things for your client. Do you ever pay for stuff before the listing? Like what you were talking about, the handyman team and the gutter guy and all of those?
You know what I do? This is kind of funny. If there's one that I think might be a little overpriced slightly and it's gonna be a while, I'll tell them, and you can only do this after you've been a while, but you know, you'll maybe say you'll have the house cleaned or you have somebody do, and I'll pay for it and I'll put that in escrow. So now they know if they cancel on you, they have to pay that bill. So it's a way to kind of lock them in within a reason, right? You know, I'm gonna get them that long term, he's not gonna pay me this fee. So and then I try to use those people to not need to be paid until it closes too. So leveraging is a big part of it.
Gotcha.
Leveraging the people.
I'd like to ask you, so when you do list a house, are you telling your clients right away, hey, listen, we gotta get this done and this done? Do you have the seller pay for your inspections? You know? to get
It
up
depends
front?
on the clientele.
Oh,
If I
okay,
feel like they've got the money to spend up front, it's always a great idea.
yeah.
Because then when you get offers, you're giving
There you
out
go, yeah.
packets and you're eliminating some of the haggling that can go on and say, hey, you had the inspection, right? But not everybody's like that, so you have to read your person, like $500 might be too much for them at that time. So,
Yeah,
in Salinas,
that's
we,
what they're selling, you know, I need the money.
can be, and it's also different markets. If the market's going down, believe me, they don't want us to do anything up front. Moving fast is what's important. So.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Scott? All right, well, I would like to thank you again for making the drive and spending your time.